welcome back. Thanks to ever-growing subscribers and supporters. Thank you. A little postscript to the last couple of videos. We're doing the whole series on lying, and one of the guys in the group, Martin Stefan, I hope I'm pronouncing that correctly. Martin, anyway, he's one of the analytical geniuses behind the group. Gave me a good little postscript for the last two videos. So we're talking about lying and the techniques and documenting the techniques of lying so that you can see it and be free of it. But he brought up a really good point, which is that a big element that's going on here is projection between the cognitively feminine and the cognitively masculine. The way he put it here, the cause is projection, whereas the purpose of cog-fem speech is to achieve some effect on emotions and on status hierarchy through it, where the purpose of cog-male speech is to convey information. They think we're trying to use speech the same way they do. Now this ties into the whole males are physical super predators, females are social super predators kind of argument. Women, like I've said, the last couple of videos, women exist in a primarily social world. They use language to navigate their social environment, and to navigate other people's perceptions and to navigate other people's emotions. And so it's almost like their natural state to, when they speak or when they judge something or when they judge a situation or a person or a population or whatever it is, to have a goal in mind that they're trying to achieve, or as Martin says, to achieve some effect on people's emotions or to achieve some effect on the status hierarchy. And go and watch any female soap opera or female drama, and you can see the underhanded, undermining, plausible deniability kind of way that women, they look at each other and go, oh, that's a very interesting outfit, and all the other 95% or whatever it is of body language is saying the exact opposite of what she said with her words. And so this is almost like, for the cognitively female, it's a bias. It's like a bias towards their natural state in a sense, because they live in a social world and they navigate a social world. Whereas for men, especially the white European men, we've talked about, Kurt Doolittle has talked about the differing levels of sexual dimorphism of different populations, and talked about how, with the white Europeans, like, we are very sexually dimorphic. Our women are very feminine and our men are very masculine, and that's going to come along with different, masculine and feminine brain biases as well. And look, I'll be completely honest. I think that is one of the elements behind the white men can't dance sort of thing. Like, if you look at popular TVs and the white guys are like hokey and dorky and whatever, what we do, that's the systematic thinking, that's the systematic brain sort of thing coming through. And so we might not have as much of a natural affinity towards socialization as maybe like black guys or whatever, but what we do is build structures really well, build civilizations really well. So look, that's on a macro level, I think, an expression of that European male systematizing brain. And that's not to say, once again, that other populations don't have that as well. It's all spectrums and averages, but it's definitely a trope. It's definitely a trope that kind of that dorky systematizing white guy thing, and which is going to open up a whole range of possibilities where our white females are highly susceptible to emotional manipulation because they're very feminine, but the white guys are going to be at a disadvantage in communicating with them to defend against outside influences, let's say, because we're often more systematically brained. And so and I think that's going to be a big part of the equation when you look at like the white populations, where, we always say, white women are susceptible to so many things, and white males don't have much defense against a lot of this sort of cog fem undermining and things, because we're more systematically brained, and we kind of just don't really get it intuitively, which is why we're talking about it, is so you can get it. But look, that projection is that if it's the natural state of cog fems to be trying to enact an emotional or status effect when you speak, then they're going to project that onto when they hear someone else speaking as well. So if the male is like, well, look at this X information about this group, they're going to filter that through their biases and project that the only reason we would say that is because we are trying to have an effect on status as well, and that's why they get upset about it. So if you say, well, X group has, I don't know, X average IQ or something, and they go, well, like the information, and once again, putting that information within a larger system, they're going to be blind to that. But what they're going to default to is, well, why are you saying this? And the why is rhetorical almost, because I think they know why, which is that you're trying to do what they do, which is to have an effect on people's emotions and have an effect on the status hierarchy, which in another way, in plain English, is you would only be saying that to try to put someone else down and using those words as an attack, because women use words as an attack. They war through words and undermining, and so they think that that's what you're doing. Whereas what you might be trying to say is, look at this piece of information and what the flow-on consequences of that are, But once again, they're system blind, the way we're more socially blind. But as always, like Kurt Doolittle says, you can train the monkey. So you can train people beyond their biases, but it just takes repetition and patience. And as I've said, and we'll be saying a lot in these words, it takes the agency on our part to double down, stay calm, and reassert the point, so that people, through repetition and time, can start to disambiguate the actual point, the nuance. They can see the nuance in what you're saying. It's like, no, I don't hate these people. I don't have an emotional driver, but I'm just trying to explain a larger political point, and this is crucial information in that system. You know what I mean? So a few things are going to come together here. You can talk to Coach Noah about agency, and agency is very, very important. And I think when it comes to these issues, having the agency to not bite back and to not be swept up in someone else's emotional frame, and to just calmly stay on point, that is a very useful skill to have as well. It's going to, in the art of political debating, it's going to be crucial, because you look at TVs and movies and all this sort of thing, the way they signal to the cog fems is whenever there's a character that you are not supposed to like, they make them anxious, they make them emotionally volatile, they make them overweight and unattractive, they make them crazy. Whereas the cool people you're meant to like are always in control, they're always attractive, well put together, they have the agency to not get swept up and to stay in control of situations and to assert what they want in a calm and relaxed way. And so it's really important to see all these tropes as well when you're trying to communicate, because you have to become that. If you want to try and save your civilization, you have to try to become like that, so that you can signal to other people in a calm way. And once again, just gently reassert the actual point, because the only chance you have of getting through is just that gentle repetition of the actual point. And so over time, people can start to see the nuance. They can start to listen to what you say separate from their biases of asking, well, what emotional effect are you trying to have by saying that? You're just trying to put someone else down to raise your own status, which is why it looks like an attack to them, because in their world it would be an attack. If women rearrange their status hierarchy by undermining other women, putting them down, and using words and social innuendo and undermining to do so. And so when they hear systematic information, they're going to filter it through that. So look, and also too, the other side of it, we as systematically minded, men probably don't appreciate this as much as we could, and that's where you get that phenomenon of the guy just sprouting off. As I've said in the last video, just the guy pointing to the whiteboard, sprouting off information and connections, and look at this system, and take a step back and see what it all means, but they don't. It's hard for them to do that. So look, that is a very crucial piece of this system, is projection. Is that for the cog femmes, favourable or disfavourable information, you would only convey that or only want to say that because in their world it would be an attack. You're either trying to raise or lower someone else's status in the group. So if you praise someone, this isn't that would be the same thing. And this is another element too, where Kurt Doolittle has mentioned, and this is probably good to pick out some examples about this in the future, but heaping undue praise, right? So women's instincts are around equality, and you see that you imagine the mum, and there's a bunch of kids, and one of the kids is a real underachiever at some task or whatever, but they'll heap undue praise. Oh no, he's doing so well. The kid that came first in the race, well, he's already got enough status. He's already got enough achievement. The kid that's really lagging behind, they want everyone equal, they want everyone included, they don't want anyone left behind, and so they heap undue praise on the loser to keep that equality and that group cohesion. And politically, this is something that happens as well. I think it's probably part of that, the myth of the noble savage. It's like you get these populations lagging behind, but all you ever hear is just how magical they are and how heroic, and they're just so great. They're just so great because they're trying to not leave anyone left behind. They're trying to keep that group cohesion. But once again, this ties into another point, that the cog fem instincts are crucial at community level, family and community and societal levels, but they just don't scale to the level of competing populations and competing nations. They don't. And we have been making them the primary morality and scaling them to the international level with absolutely disastrous consequences. So look, that is another big element, is projection. The inability of women, the cog femmes, to understand the cog males and vice versa. And there probably were institutions back in the day that helped train us about these sort of things. We had stronger institutions that governed the relationships between men and women, and the cognitively feminine and cognitively masculine. But as with so many of our institutions, they've been destroyed, they have been disintegrated, they've been weakened, and they're not really existent anymore. And so there's nothing there training us beyond our intuitions, training us beyond our biases, and how to cooperate and bridge that gap. But look, I won't make this a long one, but that is a crucial point as well. Projection. Now, it's not necessarily lying, but I might call this lying by accident, because you do end up with lies, but it's not a purposeful attempt at lying necessarily. It's just people working from and projecting their own biases onto the other.